breaking down modern technology for everyone to understand. It's Tech Tuesday on Mornings with Zerlina.
Welcome back to Mornings with Zerlina for our Tech Tuesday segment. We are joined by AI, privacy, and online safety expert Nuala O'Connor. Good morning. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thrilled to join you. Thanks so much for having me.
So one of the things that I noticed, because I use Claude, just like most people these days, is that there was something new, like an update. And then there's like a learn more, because it's like the government is blocking the usage of this new thing that we built. And that was a development that I was like, what does that mean?
What does that mean?
I was reading more about it. So help us understand, number one, what happened there and what it should tell us about some of the larger safety concerns when we're dealing with new AI and new technologies that we don't know everything about yet.
Absolutely. And first, I love Claude too. He's my favorite. It's my favorite. So I share that. Good for you for actually stopping to read the disclosures. I like to joke that in my career, I have written more disclosures that people have never read. So I'm so happy and proud that someone has, as someone as smart and wonderful as you. What it means let's step back and put it in the larger context. This week, there was a very significant announcement by the Five Eyes. And for your listeners who may not be as deeply nerdy as me, Five Eyes are the US, UK, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, cybersecurity and security agencies. So we'll get into that in a minute, but it's a larger issue of this is a war, essentially, or at least a national security issue, how good each country's AI is, and whether the AI models can essentially fight each other. I mean, I'm being a little flippant. It means, can they find the vulnerabilities in other countries, companies, institutions, systems in a way that they can exploit those vulnerabilities and cause really significant problems. So what the government has done, and I know that strikes fear in people's hearts, and it should. I mean, my initial reaction is, I don't want the government telling me or any company what to do. But in times of, and this is really somewhat of a crisis, it is not unreasonable for governments to say to their own companies, whoa, hang on a minute. Let's think about whether or not we would actually want you to export or share your great technology with institutions or governments of other countries that might turn around and use it against us. So setting aside, and we could go deep and long on this White House and their AI policy, but setting aside who it is, the principle of public-private partnership in technology, and frankly, in a lot of industries, is a totally legitimate way to protect our own country and our own citizens.
And one of the things that explanation makes me think about is, to your point, obviously, the Five Eyes, all allies, and we are concerned about perhaps these AI systems, as you said, like fighting each other out. And the danger is that sometimes it's not an ally
Right.
that has that capability. And in a world where we're dealing with AI, but we're also coming out of a period where cybersecurity, cyber attacks, not just on computer systems or, attacking people and taking their data, for example, and utilizing that, exploiting that knowledge in some way, but also like defense, cyber defense, and infrastructure, water systems. I mean, I think that part of the problem is we don't expand the conversation enough when we're talking about the dangers here, because we're so focused on like cybersecurity, which makes people think about computers as opposed to the fact that a computer is running like the water.
You are absolutely brilliant. Well, at least I think you are, because I completely agree with you.
That's how my brain works.
It's exactly the right answer, which is this is a real world problem.
Right.
And what we in tech have struggled with for decades is we don't speak normal language to people, right? And so hopefully that's something I can help the listeners with today is this is a physical world problem as well as an internet problem. And you are exactly right that the conversation has moved on beyond my personal data. And yes, the many data breaches you experience and the letters you get from your banks and all those things to This is the technology that's powering your nuclear power plants, your water systems, as you said, your railroads, your airlines. There was just that major breach of the airlines that took down a whole bunch of airports. Physical world risk makes this a national security risk as well as a cyber risk. And those are the conversations. And that's, I think, pivoting to the Five Eyes statement, that is where governments need to partner responsibly with the private sector, and the private sector needs to partner responsibly with the government to sort of create a net of safety where we, citizens of this country, can live securely and know that that we are not in physical danger as well as in cyber danger. So it's really a form, I think, of warfare that has been under kind of appreciated. As you point out, it's a physical world risk to all of us.
It's such an important thing to understand, because I think that for so many decades, it was like, well, the guy in IT is going to make sure we don't get hacked. But then, when you see hospitals and other, things that we utilize every single day attacked in the same way, and then they're not able to function because of that cyber attack, then that, to your point, that's where we see this show up in the real world. And it's not just a problem for like the guy in IT. It's actually a problem for governments. What are some of the AI powered scams that folks who are listening should pay attention to, look out for, keep an eye out for? Because I feel like, obviously, even the robocalls on my phone are like out of freaking control, right? Thank God for the new iPhone feature that silences all of those. But I feel like with AI, powered by AI, there are so many additional threats to people's, going back to the point about data and security and scams and financial fraud.
Oh, that is such a great question. And I mean, some that come to mind immediately are, AI-enabled voice technology, AI-enabled, as you point out, banking fraud. The scams I'm hearing about recently, and they worry me as I have an aging parent, are the voice enabled calls that come and say, "Grandma, it's me. I'm in trouble. I can't tell my parents. Can you wire me, $10,000?" These sorts of things. Using voice technology, taking snippets of, this should worry us as we're now on, on a broadcast, that snippets of your voice, and then re-engineering it in a way that truly sounds like you, and having a conversation that the normal human being, I think, is not really aware that the AI technology is this good. The others I worry about right now in the political arena, as you've seen, deep fakes, fake visuals, as well as text that look really legitimate. Emails in your inboxes, you've been getting them for years. Yep. Now they can really mimic the tone, the cadence, the language of a professional organization in a much better way. You were always able to find the typo from the Bank of America email that clearly wasn't theirs. They're just so good. There was just an article in the paper, I think, last weekend, that one of the world's experts on deciphering visual AI fakes is really saying that the technology has surpassed the normal human being's ability to discern whether it's true or not. That's really the fear here. Listen, we've all lived through Internet 1.0, mobile Internet 2.0, lots of technological revolutions and industrial revolutions in this country and in earlier centuries. What's different here is that it's so much faster and that it's so much better.
No, this is such a good point. And I've I am sort of entertained by some of the videos that are like how to explain to your parents that the thing that they sent you is a deep fake. And I know that it's funny because we want to think like older people are having this issue, but even I'm not really that old. I'm in my 40s, but I'm having trouble. Like just in the last few months, it has improved just in the last few months, where like I'm looking at a video, I'm like, oh, this is such a cute
Absolutely.
kitten. It's not real. And then I'm like, I got like
Absolutely.
I got fooled by the AI, and it's just continuing to get better and better and better. Every week there's a new update that makes it better. So how can we keep up with that? I mean, is there a way we can actually push for laws or regulations, or at least explain to the people in Congress that they should be doing this, because there is real danger here?
You're 100% right. And that is where I am. I'm a little bit older than you, but I'm definitely on the pivot point of having used this technology for a long time, and it's outpacing even my ability to tell the difference. Where this worries me, and you're right to go to Congress, to government, individual action alone is not going to be enough. You and I could spend all day long saying, ooh, is that fake or is that not? But really what we've got to look for first, obviously, ethical behavior by companies. And I think surprisingly that there's a lot of good work going on, and you've seen statements from Anthropic and the Pope about, the ethics of bringing out responsible AI. That's been, my work, my whole career is responsible and ethical technology. So there are good people who want to do the right thing. That's almost everybody. But for the people who are not those people, we definitely need laws and norms and regulations that require disclosure, that require transparency, that require people, frankly, just flat out using AI to say, hey, consumer, this is a bot, or hey, one of my pet peeves is, and it will really irritate citizens, customers, consumers, whatever you want to call them, when they find out they've been talking to a bot and they didn't realize. That makes people mad. Let me tell you, people don't want to feel foolish. And so a big principle is, inform, disclose, educate, entertain. But for Congress, I think the way to get to their hearts and minds is, hey, folks, this is going to be used against you. This fake video of you doing something you're not supposed to be, or saying something you're not supposed to be saying, that's the risk for them. And I think that will hit them exactly where they live. And I just want to tell a funny story. Years ago, I think it was Twitter and a university did some research on who believed the kind of junk, the misinformation, the disinformation. Americans on average, and again, this is, maybe 5 or 10 years ago, absolutely believed, that the Pope endorsed this person, or, that cat was talking, or, whatever it was. Eastern Europeans on average did not.
Wow.
And why is that? Because a lot of them had grown up in an environment where there was so much disinformation and misinformation coming out of their government. They had become attuned in a way that we are not, because we've grown up largely trusting our environment, our information, and our governments and companies. So they just basically didn't believe anything, and they started from a premise that this is fake, and then said, okay, maybe it's real. So I don't want to have to get to the world where we don't believe anything. That's not good. It's not good for democracy. It's not good for your human rights. It's not good for your psyche. So I think concerted action by governments and companies together is necessary.
You said this is basically a new space race. So if that's true, who's the Sputnik?
Oh, this is great. And I think the analogy is exactly right. And when I was working at Homeland Security in the early days after 9/11, I thought the analogy was apt then, that times of crisis absolutely spur great innovation, even wars, World War II, public-private partnership with car companies, with air companies, and the government led to great innovations. I used to joke that that Tom Ridge, the first Secretary of Homeland Security, would make speeches about technology, and I would call it the Tang speech. Tang, T-A-N-G, the orange, powdery drink that some of us might remember when we were kids. Not everybody. I'm showing my age here. But Tang was an invention of the space race. Millions of kids in America loved, Tang in the 70s and the 80s because, so that was jokingly, but in all reality, great innovation comes in times of crisis. And so, yes, the Sputnik moment, I think maybe some of the recent announcements coming out of China that some of their models are accelerating. Again, there's been pushback that some of that was not as accurate as was purported. But we are absolutely, and the space race here is really China. It's not Russia. It's not Eastern Europe. And that race is playing out in a whole number of ways. It's an issue of size and scale. It's an issue. We right now, I think we still have the lead. We've got amazing companies doing amazing things, and for the most part, doing the right thing and wanting to do the right thing, and self-restraining when there's a risk to the country. But that might not last forever. And that requires not just great technology and great resources and great information sharing between the government and the private sector. It also requires people. There's amazing statistics on the numbers of immigrants who currently lead, Silicon Valley companies, but also who are instrumental in innovation and just the sharing of information across borders. And we need to really think about, are we creating an environment in this country that is hospitable not just to innovation and creativity, but to people coming here to experiment, to be part of Silicon Valley, to be part of this great industry. So there's a whole bunch of risks in developing an AI industry in a long way. And I think, we're seeing some rockiness. You saw this week, I think it was Oracle's stock, took a hit. And there's other worrying signs about whether people believe this can continue on the very hot trajectory it is. But it requires not just people and technology and resources and money, it also requires energy. There's a huge issue around energy and space, and you see the pushback on data centers. And we really need to think about the impact on our local communities and communities that may be vulnerable already, being taken advantage of in building these data centers and in taking energy resources. And where are we going to get those energy resources from? A positive note, and I'm a big believer in sometimes the worst thing can be the best thing if if you look at it the right way. There is a real commitment and awareness of environmental impact and climate change, and looking at alternative fuels and looking at alternative energy sources. So this could actually power. The need for more power for AI could actually kind of supercharge our need as a country to really look at alternative forms of energy, resources, and becoming more self-reliant as a country on our energy resources. So I'm actually excited about that, and I think there's real potential there.
Fingers crossed. All the fingers crossed on the toes.
That's an optimistic read.
Nuala O'Connor is an AI privacy and online safety expert. Thank you so much for being here for our Tech Tuesdays and closing out our show today. It was great having you here. Come back anytime.
Will do. Thanks so much.